Have you ever looked at your own hands and it was a glimpse of a stranger, as if he had found a sign is hidden in you? Because look at this. There are people who discover an M formed by the lines of the palm. And at the same time, it's like, well, it can't just be a coincidence. And this is where it begins in the danger and magic, this story. Or do you ignore it as silly? Or you go on a journey in which each line becomes a single track, a clue as to who you are, on what you carry with you, and what you also didn't even realize that you can't do that. Now, answer me one thing earnestly. And his hand was trying to tell you something. It's been years. And have you ever stopped to listen to? Today, I'm going to take you through a full-time and clear, and at the same time mesmerizing, so you can understand what people say to you that this is the M means without complication, without having to be challenging, and with the kind of storytelling that makes you have to stay till the end just to double-check one thing. This is a chat with me? And I warn, it's not just, oh, that's lucky, or oh, that is spirituality. The M involves 6 ideas that would appear directly on the subject of palmistry, on the reading of the lines of the hand: soul of the old and the cycles of life, intuition and insight, leadership and success, the archetype of the healer, challenges and lessons learned, the famous Everest.
And the most important thing, what to do with it without auto-ingana. Be aware that even if you don't have the M in full, then this video is for you, because you are what matters here is not just a letter away in his palm. It is what it is and how it can make you understand it better. And then it comes to me. He takes out his hand and now it looks cool, and we're going to unlock the mystery. When people talk about the famous M on the palm of your hand, and they're not talking about the obvious, blatant, or a perfectly drawn, it's not as if life had stopped, picked up a pen, and write a letter in there just so you understand. They call themselves the M is in fact a design of settle that comes from some of the main features of the hand and cross each other in a specific way, forming something similar to the letter M. This is by no means accurate, but it's symbolic. And that says a lot, because it is not a stamp that's perfect. It is not for a tattoo, nature. It is not a font to Arial, size 12. This is a pattern. Standards and mess with people on a level that almost no one realizes it consciously. Now pay attention to this. People are completely obsessed with patterns. Our brains have been trained for thousands of years, and I look for a sense where it apparently doesn't exist. He looks up to the cloud and you see a face, looking for a drop shadow and saw a beast. Look at the stains on the wall and create the story's whole.
So when someone looks at her hand, something that is so close to each other, as close as your own, and you realize there is a symbol, that the response is almost automatic. It can't just be a coincidence. And it is precisely here that the mind enters into power. Because in the end, it is not about the letter itself. It's about a silent question which was born along with it. Is that supposed to mean something to you about me? And here's the microgancho, the most important of all, the one that almost no one else notices, but you can change everything. At the time, which really makes a man is not to figure out if it's a symbol, it's real or not, but what is this symbol is awakened in her. This is the time when you have to, the moment that you are seen, the time at which something takes you out of your automatic transmission. So let me make this very clear right now. The idea here was never to convince you of anything on blind faith. Quite to the contrary. The idea is to teach you how to look out for this subject in the right way, with a maturity and a depth of not being able to believe in anything just because it looks cute, no mess and pretend that nothing in life has any meaning, and especially without falling into the trap, the most dangerous of all, to think that a simple line in your hand, you decide who you are or how far you can go, because it is not in control. This theme can be done when it's used in the right way, is to become a makeup mirror.
A mirror is that it does not show in the future, but it reveals the things of the mind that you might be ignoring. Now, if you want to get an easy way and straightforward to look out for, Look Cool Pro is the center of his palm. No rush, no waiting. The main lines intersect each other in a way that is somewhat similar to a lot of people would call it the mark of the M. And yes, in the movies, the books, and the stories are popular. To say that the brand appears more often in people with certain specified characteristics, but surely such a curiosity here, because that's the most important thing, is not to know whether or not you have M. The most important thing is to understand why it is that this symbol to hold the attention of the people, and it makes you feel when you look at it. That's what we're going to unpack now, step by step. And if you are still up to the end, and I will promise you one thing, you're not going to look back at your own hands, even to yourself, in the same way again. I want to go in the only way that it deserves, with a question for you. If you've ever felt nothing but the beat. She squeezes her breasts. It gives you a silence from the inside out. Have you ever walked into a place that, for the first time, and she had to make absolutely sure that you have already been there before you? And it's not a, I don't think I've seen anything like it. It is not a remembrance of the position.
I'm talking about is a feeling of intense, almost physical, as if something inside of you said or did without asking for the permission, "I know that." On the floor looks like a family. The air feels familiar, even the silence seems to be known. Some people call it déjà vu, some call it intuition, and there are those who go even further and say it is the memory of the soul. Within this vision, the spiritual, the brand with the M on the palm of the hand, it appears. However, as it is a sign of someone who has already gone through many experiences, as if you take a bag of the old, deep, and hard to explain with words. But here's the important point. You don't have to believe in reincarnation, and I feel the weight of it. When you think of me, honestly, when a person feels the oldest in, when you feel a sense of maturity that is not appropriate for the age, when you look at certain situations in your life and responds with a quiet or a depth that surprised even himself, such a person begins to look for an explanation. She is trying to figure out why she always felt a little bit off from time to time. Why are some conversations that seem to be flat too? Why do some of the aches and pains seem to be familiar, even as a new one? And that is exactly what this symbol is seen as, an anchor or emotional. The person looks at the palm of your hand and sees this pattern and thinking of the silence. So, okay, maybe I'm not an alien. Maybe I'm not broken.
Maybe I'll just be different. And that in itself is already a game changer. Now, an important piece of information that a lot of us ignore. This is the idea of the soul of the old appears in the frequency content of the linked researchers and authors and spiritual well-known, such as the Dolores Cannon, who spoke on the cycles of the soul and learning, which have accumulated over time. But I want you to understand that, in a way, the most intelligent, the most down-to-earth, and more useful for your life. Even if you do not agree to the idea of a literal in a past life, the symbol can still stand for something true on an emotional level. There are people who learn early on. It grows in a hard way. It goes through challenging situations and come out with scars and invisible, and the knowledge that no one sees you, but you'll feel it. And now you are paying attention to this hookup because it completely changes the focus of the story. The M was a type of the map. The most important question will not be, how many times have I had? The question is, would it be a lot more uncomfortable? And it's much more powerful. What I've learned so far, and what is life trying to teach me? Because at the end of the day, what really makes a person, it is not the explanation of the beautiful. It is not a theory of the spiritual life. It is not a symbol in your hand. What are the changes in the life is a movement that you make after that, if you recognize it. And sometimes, all you need to, it's a mirror that makes you stop and breathe. And you have to admit, maybe I'll upload more of the story within me that I thought it would be. Now we get to a point where, if you're honest with yourself, almost all of the world ever to have lived, at least for a time, have you ever had a strange feeling about your life? The one thing that's hard to explain. And then, over time, he realized that he was right. Have you ever felt that a decision was going to go wrong, even though there is no concrete evidence to? And yet, it gave the exactly wrong with that? This is the intuition. And in the interpretation of the mark of the M sign, it is associated with intuition and strong, with a perception of a more sharp-edged, as if they captase signs of the invisible, subtle details, and emotional climates that go completely unnoticed for the most part. But for now, let me cause the truth. Intuition is not a kind of magic. Intuition is also in the brain. It is the experience of condensed. This is the information that you may have absorbed in without realizing it. A great deal of intuition are born of such things as the patterns that you will recognize without knowing how to explain it. Expressions almost invisible on the face of someone else, in a climate of something in the environment that it does not match. A mix-up small into a story that no one else had noticed. The conscious you do not understand, but your body does. He reacts before her mind to formulate the words, and people are more sensitive to most observers or who have gone through difficult situations in life and often developed it as a strategy for survival. They are taught to view the world below the surface. They know what is not being said. They feel that they are out of place. Now imagine growing by listening to the sentences, such as, "Are you sensitive to others?" To exaggerate, that's all in your head. Such a person begins to think that there is a bug. It feels like too much. You think too much, until one day you notice something key. It is not a defect, it is a tool. And that is exactly what the M is, no longer just a drawing of a curious, and becomes a powerful symbol. As a symbol of the permission, allowed me to trust in your own experience, for permission to stop the void all the time. But now we come to the notice of the most important of them all. There is the other side of it. When you think there's too much on intuition without the filter, none, you can turn into a hostage from her. You might be confused by fear and with foreboding. You may be confused about the warning. You can call the trauma of intuition, and it exacts a high price.
For this reason, the smartest way to use this gift is simple and powerful. The intuition is of an alarm clock. It draws attention to itself. She's awake, but it's not a life sentence. Do you feel anything? Oh great, now watch. It investigates. Confirm.
And here's a micro-gancho you can completely change the way that you stand in the world. Your intuition, and don't ask me to prove anything to anyone. They are going to ask them to protect you, and you respect that. So if you recognize yourself in this sensitivity, whether you've got the brand of the or the non, guard in this lesson with love. Don't ignore how you feel, but also do not turn over the prisoners what you do. Now, before I continue, I want to ask you something very important. Be aware that because of this, it makes a big difference. Comment below, what do you see in their hand? Have you ever noticed in the other lines, in addition to the V, the line of life, the line of the head, the line of the heart? A line is different in that it has always attracts attention. Write in the comments which of the lines you have already noticed this, because in the next content I can't delve very much, and explaining in simple, clear terms what each of these lines often symbolize, and why are so many people identify with. Now you can breathe, look again for your hand too, because he or she may be talking about you for a long time, and just now you started to listen to it. Now we get to a part that a lot of people loves to listen, even if they don't ever admit to. Oh, so now she wants to tell you that I'm going to be a success? Cool, breathe in, because that's not how it works.
The story of people. The mark of the M's usually appears associated with it: leadership, strategy, and decision-making skills, and is a sure way to stand out. And that is exactly what a lot of people, if you lose, because you can imagine success, status, power, or external recognition. But we're going to translate that to real life. No fantasy, no empty promise. Leadership isn't about being the loudest in the room. Leadership is way over the top. Leadership is not to control others. Leadership training is to be consistent when the whole world is changing. This is to maintain clarity. The atmosphere turns to chaos. It supports decisions even when no one applauds. You know that one person who, when the whole world crashes, panics, or gets lost? She takes a deep breath and said calmly, "Yeah, let's break these down." This is in the lead. Do you know who can't be guided without a humble? Who guides you through without detracting from? Who is to assume responsibility without turning tyrannical or cruel? It is also lead, and that it may be more difficult for her. Now, let me tell you of a truth is a little uncomfortable. The ones that give you a quiet procedure. Many of the people who are born with the potential to lead spend their entire lives running away from it. They run away because they lead the tires, because they lead the exhibits, because they lead you places in the target of the criticism, expectations, and judgments. The one who leads is not hidden. The one who leads appear, and it appears we're scared. For this reason, it is within the reading of the symbolic mark of M will not be as a result of the type, you're going to be rich, you're going to be famous, are you going to have on other people? It would be something much more profound going on at the same time. The more cumbersome, do you have the internal structure to support decisions, big ones? And now comes the part that really, the hypnosis that makes a person stop and ask yourself the things that you tend to avoid include. And if you're not using it, and if you're hiding in the smaller versions of itself because it is so scary to bother you, it is important to note or to take on the burden of your own. And if you have the ability to organize, to plan, to guide you, and you decide to, but like decreasing just to fit into places you've already got too small for you, life can do that to us, almost without realizing it. She's on the train so as not to attract attention, so as not to go too far, I won't take up space. But there is some kind of a soul, they don't live a little. She tries, she pretends to be, it fits, and yet she's sick. So if this is part of you and gave you a squeeze of weird inside to guard, and this thought with care, you may have. M is not only a symbol of fate, it might not be a promise on the outside. Maybe it's just a quiet reminder of the courage to stand, courage to make a decision, the courage to stop hiding. Because of the success at the end of the day, it is not so. It is not a coincidence. It is not a miracle. Success is the courage to repeat every day, even when we're scared. Right now, I'm going to describe a type of person, and I really want to see if you can recognize them. It's a person who, the friends are looking to blow off steam, your family download the aches and pains, strangers come to life out of nowhere, and she doesn't know how to say no without guilt. If you are sure that you have identified, and the archetype of the healer, the reading is linked to the M, there is a perception of this brand. You can point the slope of the heel, not necessarily in medicine, but as the host of emotional guidance, care, and presence. And it is beautiful, but it can also be dangerous, because the curator, it will not be implemented, turns into a deposit from the pain, and there is a sentence in which you have to save. Empathy without boundaries, seen auto-abandono. A lot of people, which cure on the other. Don't you know to heal yourself? Do not allow yourself to rest? Do you think that you need to save the whole world? Confused love and sacrifice. So if you have this feature, the strongest there is, wow, I'm special. In the lesson, the strongest is learn how to set limits, learn how to filter, learn how to not load that is not your own. because I said so. Being present is a gift. But to be present with our own wisdom, it is an art in itself. And do you know what is the most intriguing? Sometimes people with the most curators are the ones who have been injured early on. They will learn how to read a pain. They will learn to anticipate the pain. They are a good host because he wanted to have been achieved. This is not a weakness, it is a transformation. So if this is the part he took, strong and secure, this micro-Gansho, you are not here just to get it right. Maybe you're on to lighten up the world, starting with you. Right now, I'm going to touch on a point that moves with the whole world. The same with the one who pretends that he just doesn't care. Even those who say that it has already surpassed. It has stages of the life cycle in which it seems that everything will come to a test, right? Anything goes, nothing to walk easily. All it requires effort, folded in 3. And you look around and see other people going in front of you. So the question arises, is almost automatic. Why are you with me? Within the narrative linked by an M, there is a sense in which it can also symbolize the lessons in the intense challenges that shape our experiences, which can be very stressful for the person to grow up, even if they don't feel it's ready. But once again, we're going to bring it to a place that makes sense to anyone, with no logical extreme, with no pattern. Life teaches you to basically in 2 different ways, with love or you repeat.
And this is the part that is important to you. When you will not be able to learn at the first notice of the life, don't give up. She repeats this theme. Rather, it changes the picture. Return to the people, change to the context. But the lesson 2, the lesson in the back and forth until you change it. There seems to Korea, it seems to the destination, looks like the punishment. It seems like a curse to him, but a lot of times it's something much more simple and far more troubling question. This is a pattern that you have not failed. Will you choose like-minded people? You agree to accept less than you deserve. You run away from the difficult conversations. You will swallow the things that hurt. If you put for the last, again and again, and that's life. Quietly, not to knock on the same door until you open it. For this reason, it is within the reading of a symbolic value of having the M does not mean to suffer the most. Would you have a rare ability to transform pain into progress? And that's exactly what separates the 2 types of people. A person is and the cake. The other person is you and alive. The pain is like, the effect is similar, but the result is completely different. What are the changes? Consciousness. And here it is, perhaps the idea that the most powerful of all of this is the video that explains it all. The direction of the point is not to destroy you, it is for thee to reveal to you.
Life pushes you out of your character that you have created just in order to survive. The one character who can handle it all? That is up in the air. It fits with the others. And it is called sometimes, the wind blows. The us version is closer to the truth of who you really are. So if you have gone through difficult phases, pay attention to this. Don't use it, I condemn it. Do not use to cut. Do not use for if you ask me, what's the matter with me? Use to crack. And now, let me make a call. Very straightforward, because it connects exactly with what we're talking about here. If this video made you stop, thinking about or looking at his own hand in a different way, so this content will not come to you by chance. This video is a dive deeper, in symbols, in patterns that are repeated, in terms of the choices that determine the shape of your life without you even realizing it. In the coming content, we're going to go even more. On the other, the lines of the hand, they are often a symbol. And how do these readings if you can connect with the personalities, decisions, and loops in real life? So if you sign up, it is right here, because this channel is for those who are watching it wrong. This is for anyone who feels that there's something beneath the surface, and you want to understand what it is trying to show off. This video is just the beginning. Now you can breathe, for real.
This is the part that a lot of people want to hear, but almost no one ever says it that way. You don't need to have a perfect, balanced, beautiful, and worthy of a picture on the internet to carry out the qualities that people have come to think of it. This is important to you. The lines on the hand, which change with the time, they provide more detail. Do they have softened? They have become as you are alive. You decide on or change the route. And even within Freemasonry, the interpretations are different. There isn't a final design. There is a verdict in the end. And so the M, there has never been and was never meant to be some sort of a test to separate us, special people, the normal. It would be too shallow. And you being straightforward, and children. The M, it works much better if you view it as what it really is, as a symbol of a narrative, a trigger for self-discovery. An excuse is elegant for you to stop by. And if you look at, do you look at your hand? And then, almost without realizing it, he begins to question the things that you normally avoid. I have the intuition, and I do not know. I have the leadership, and I hide. I have empathy for you, and I surrender myself. I've had many of the same challenges, and don't I? And in that moment, something else comes along that is quiet, yet powerful. His hand leaves only one hand. It's just a mirror. And, perhaps the most mesmerizing of all of this, it is just this. The answer has never been on the line.
It takes you out of your fantasy, and it puts you in the present. Step 2, make 3 questions and respond to the truth, to protect.
Now we come to the part of you that doesn't matter. And here, it is not good to lie to yourself. Question number 1. I feel like I do. I know that, but I don't trust. Intuition. Question number 2. Where you and I'm shrinking out of fear of making a mistake. Bother you or myself? Lead. Question number 3. What a pain I try to heal on the other.
But I look at me, trustee. Answers without romanticizing. No drama, no you do the pose, and honest and raw. Because no one is going to listen to the answers of your own. Step 3. Choose a single action, short, and do it within the next 24 hours. Now we come to the key point. Nothing in the plan for now, nothing in the promise of the position. An action short, for real, as possible. If the answer is the intuition, you are going to say no to something, what you weigh, in without explaining too much. Whether it was leadership skills, you are going to make a decision as to what comes off, scared. If it was the healer, you will have to put in the first place, because without the guilt, the only one, and it's done. At that moment, something changed. You do not just want to look up a symbol in and turned it into a movement. And this is the one that almost no one ever does. Because of the symbol with no action becomes a distraction, but the symbol and the action turns to her transformation. And at the end of the day, this is all that can change a life. Mindful movement, small as it is, repeated with the intention to do so. Now, close at hand, breathe in, and it goes on. Now, right here in the comments, which of the following questions it was echoing in her head after such a ritual? Was it intuition, the kind of leadership, or a healer? And if you look back at your hand, it is a particular caught your attention. Comments as well.
At times, you put it into words. It's the first sign that something is beginning to change. Right now, I'm going to show you a lot of people don't understand. The M will stick in your mind because it delivers the 3 things that a human being to love. Mystery, a symbol of the hidden. Identity, it tells you something about me. The target, the perhaps I got away. The trick is, you do not need to fall within the literal for the best. You can use this as a language, as a metaphor, how to self-discovery. Because in the end, what you want is to discover A. What you want to do is figure out who you are without the mask. And you're listening to this right now for one simple reason. You're tired of living on autopilot. So let me tie it all. And why? If you have an M on your palm, some of the traditions and readings on Popular, do you associate it with the luggage and the maturity, the soul of ancient? Intuition is strong, leadership and strategy, healing or welcome the challenges, which saw him learn. But the main point to be made is this. This is not a life sentence. It's an invitation. The invitation to you to watch, the invitation to you to stop cheating, an invitation for you to live with more awareness. Because there may be an M drawn on her hand, but the thing that changes the game, it is the M that is you design with your choices. M for movement. M is for change. M, my life, my rules.
And right now, I want to ask you one last question, the one that really matters to you. If you were 10% more loyal to you, even today, what would you change? If this is a script you pinned it until now, do the following. Leave your like, subscribe to the channel, because we will not surrender only the curiosity of the people delivering that feeling of, wow, that's messed up to me. And in the next video, I will go even further to the main lines of the hand and how they connect to personalities and decisions in a way that was straightforward, no nonsense, and it's even more hypnotic. Now, there you go. Look at her hand again. And this time around, don't just look at the lines. Take a look at what they have for you. Before you go, do it to me right now. Look at his hand one more time. Take your time, no rush, without trying to figure it all out. Right now, comment below. What is tan line, line in, or a sign on your hand? It was said in that video. What you have always seen, always found it strange, and he felt that he was lacking to explain it. Write it, even though it may seem simple to do, because they no longer appear in the comments. It is not a coincidence. It is precisely from there that comes the next video.